Here are some tips to have better conversation and just to articulate yourself a little bit better. I used to be very introverted, and I attribute a lot of my speaking well to prayer, but also here are some practical tips that you can cling to and utilize to helpfully develop your speech. So the first tip is a little contradicting to what I am doing right now, but the first tip is to speak slow. Of course, I have to speak a little bit faster to gather people's attention on the internet, and online is not real, as they say. We're always trying to grab attention or cut parts out, so there's a lot of editing that can be done. But the first tip is to speak slow. And this is so essential in everyday conversations when you're trying to convey a message, especially when you're just beginning to articulate yourself well. Speaking slow can limit grammatical errors and really help you retrieve the words that you are trying to use in your conversation and convey and deliver those things well. So when you speak slow, also remember that what you have to say is valuable. If you're listening to somebody else's position and side and story, then what you have to say is just as valuable as them. The same way that they took their time is the same way that you can take your time and explain what you feel that you need to share. So remember that what you have to say is important. Speak slow, and as you begin to articulate yourself again and again, you will begin to speak a little faster or read the room a little bit better so that you can speed it up or slow it down based off of the type of conversations that you're having. The second tip is to recognize words that you use often. Sometimes we can keep repeating words and make our speech sound a little bit repetitive, which can make people check out, not pay too much attention, and also we can be utilizing words wrong when we just use them often and they're easy to be filler in our sentences instead of really understanding synonyms and words that are similar but a little bit different and really get to what we're trying to say instead of repeating what is just familiar. Branch out, find different words, find synonyms. It can be fun and it can really narrow in on what you are trying to say to somebody. I know I am repeating a lot in this video because I'm talking a lot about a specific topic, but when you recognize words that you say often, those synonyms can help you elaborate, be more elaborate, and just expand your vocabulary a little bit more. The third tip is to look up words that you're unsure about. It's so easy to stray away from words that seem scary or unfamiliar because we don't know the definition, but yet let's utilize our technology well. We have our phones, we have the dictionary online in the palm of our hands, so let's utilize our resources well and look up words that we're unsure about so that we can get familiar and implement those again into our vocabulary. It's okay to look things up. It's okay to not know, and looking those things up and gaining the knowledge can really help us expand and again just really help us get to the point and find the emotion of what we're trying to say. Another tip, a fourth tip, is to read fiction books. Authors in fiction books are pros at describing the scenery, the emotion, the character, the character development. There's so many descriptive words in fiction books that can help us navigate our own conversations, and it's so important to utilize our tools that we have around us to really help us develop our vocabulary and our speech. Those fiction books can pull descriptions and words out that we may not have ever thought of before, and it's so helpful in just understanding what we really feel and what we're trying to say. Another tip, a fifth tip, is to summarize information from articles in the mirror. Read articles and summarize them back to yourself. You can find the words you use a bit too often in your speech. You can see what you pay attention to, how you gather information. It can show you so much about yourself when you read articles and try to summarize those back. And then you can practice kind of that form of listening, even though you're reading, but it's still a form of paying attention and reiterating what has been said to show that you're listening. It's always nice to be able to summarize and to learn how to do that. And it's such a skill and such an asset to your life when you learn how to do that specific thing. And the last tip, tip number 6, is to be patient with yourself. I am not an English teacher or a grammar teacher, but I do find joy in learning and expanding and growing myself, and I find that having a good vocabulary and being able to speak well is so great in leadership positions, in being able to negotiate and networking, and so many opportunities in your life. This will never be a skill that doesn't serve you. Speaking well will serve you in all areas of your life, and it's so important to learn how to do that. Remember, you can always develop this skill. It's not something that you have to be born with. You can practice and try, and you don't have to stay stuck in that space of I don't know how to explain myself, or I don't know how to get my point across, or no one understands me. Practice being understood. Practice in the mirror. Summarize those articles. Implement that new vocabulary. Understand the words that you are using. These are all such helpful tips, and they helped me also. I used to be so quiet and so shy and not know how to instill boundaries, articulate boundaries, or say what I want, say my needs, network, and communicate. I used to be horrible at the whole thing. So if you see my videos now, I'm a little bit better about speaking. I'm not the best in the world, but also I've developed myself. And that's what it's all about. It's about developing yourself and not correcting and pointing out and being rude to other people when they mess up. But it's about creating that space for each other. Practice with a friend, practice with a loved one. You got this. Again, have a great life because you can. Keep expanding, keep developing yourself. Be mindful of the language you use, and know that wherever you are today, you don't have to be stuck there if you do not like it. Develop yourself and utilize the tools around you, and you got this.